Be Nice Individuals Podcast. Hey folks, Thaddeus with the Be Nice Individuals Podcast, and obviously you guys have seen the show, hopefully. It's an opportunity where I get to highlight, spotlight different people that are cool, different businesses, and today I have the opportunity to speak with someone very special with a very cool business, Toe Beans Coffee Bar. I have Vanessa Douglas in studio. She's going to tell us all about it. Vanessa, glad to have you in studio. How's your day going?
Thank you. It's going very well. Thank you.
Okay. So you do coffee. Does that make every day a good day for you since you can make your own coffee?
It makes every day a better day than it could be. Yes.
Yeah. So there are people that are really into their coffee. Are you one of those people, and that's how you got into this business in and of itself?
Not exactly. So I do like coffee. It's only been maybe in the past 3 years I've actually gotten into coffee. Yeah, my son worked at a restaurant, a little cafe that was coffee and handmade waffles. They made these delicious waffle sandwiches. I thought this good stuff in it, but he learned how to work their espresso machine and would always, when I would go in, he would make me these really tasty coffees. I'm like, this is really good. We could do something like this at home. Until you see the price of the machine. Maybe not. That's kind of what got me into the coffee aspect of it. And then, once I started kind of branching out and trying, different coffee drinks that I maybe would have not tried before, I started going to different places around Florida and tasting the difference in the actual coffee beans that they use. That's kind of what got me started.
So you're saying you've only liked coffee, did I hear you correctly, only a few years?
I would say my coffee palate has developed in the past few years.
Wow.
Yes. Normally,
awesome. I
would be like loaded up with whatever kind of sweet, sugary goodness.
Okay.
The frappuccinos, man, I'd suck those things down. That's more like, sugar than coffee.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you had a love of coffee, but not the actual coffee itself. It was more the sugar or whatnot. So now you've almost come more of a purist, almost in a certain sense.
No, I'm not a coffee snob. There's some people that are like, you can't serve that. You can't do this and this. No, but I can drink a cup of espresso now without putting anything in it and can actually taste this is good, or no, I brewed this too long, or no, I didn't brew this long enough. So it's developed.
So what makes a good espresso? Is it like there's no bitter, or how does that kind of work?
So there's different areas of the tongue that you'll taste, like a bitter or a sour, depending on if it's over extracted. So if it's been brewed too long, or if it's under extracted, which it hasn't been brewed long enough. So a good cup of espresso, you'll kind of taste it in the middle of your tongue, and it may taste a little bitter because there's no sugar or anything in it, but it shouldn't be like a sour. You shouldn't taste it. It shouldn't make your mouth dry. Like, so if it's the over extracted, I think makes your mouth real dry.
Okay.
Or if you taste sour on the tip of your tongue, that's no good either. So I went through a class to learn this.
Wow.
This isn't something that I did on my own. So,
yeah. So you're like a coffee sommelier. Is that am I saying it right?
Sure, coffee sommelier.
Yeah. So in this class, did you have to like try different ones? And
I did, yeah. So actually, the class was a requirement through the company that I buy my beans from. So I buy my coffee beans from a roaster called Buddy Brew. They're out of Tampa.
Yeah.
And they actually do have their own cafes as well where they serve their brews. So when I went in and they I did a one-on-one class with me. It was, tasting the different espressos and how to use the espresso machine I purchased. The guy who was training me, he made, he brought out this thing of coffee and poured it into 5 different cups. He's like, okay, taste this. I'm like, and as you gradually go through it, you get to the cup that is taste how the espresso should taste.
Oh, interesting.
And then he also gave me, it's really interesting. It's like this wheel of, okay, if you taste bitter here, then you need to, hold a shot longer, or you need to add more espresso, or you need to, it's a very in-depth, almost like a feelings wheel kind of thing with the different taste of it. So you can figure out how to dial the espresso in.
So this was like a master class, is what you're saying. A master class in espresso making. Did they only do espresso? Was that specific to just espresso is what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, this was just espresso. They serve other things in their cafe. They do matcha, and they do it, I guess what you would call the correct way, with a little whisk. They don't use like a pre-ground matcha, so they would whisk it up and stuff. And I think they had some different teas, but the class that I did was strictly espresso.
One of the things that I love is the fact that it's mobile. Your coffee bar is mobile. Tell me, I know we talked a little bit about your son and him working in a coffee place and him making the coffee drinks, but where did the vision kind of come from?
So, funny enough, it actually started out as the vision for a cat cafe. So I visited a cat cafe with my son in Denver probably 4 years ago. But it was, you go in and they have adoptable cats in there, and you can, pet the cats and read a book, and they have a little cafe where you can just order a cup of coffee and kind of, sit. It's a real chill atmosphere. And I've always loved cats. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to open a cat cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Palm Coast a couple of years ago, I got in touch with the lady that owns one of the cat cafes in St. Augustine. She actually wrote a book on how to open your own cat cafe.
Wow.
So I purchased her book and was, talking to her. She's real helpful, answering a lot of my questions. And then the more I dug into it, I'm like, there's a lot of liability having animals and food in the same place. And you have to, there's certain building requirements. And I'm like, I wanted to start somewhere. I wanted to get out of my corporate job and start something. So I'm like, well, I could still do the coffee part of it, but have it cat themed. So that's where the logo and the name came from. Toe beans, the little pads on the cat's paws are called toe beans. So that's where that idea kind of came in. And I thought, I could reach more people being mobile instead of just being, in a shop where people have to say, well, that's kind of far away for me to drive, or it's not really convenient. I say, okay, well, I'm mobile, so I can go to different places and make it more accessible to people. Yeah.
That's always cool because there's different events that'll be happening, say in Palm Coast or St. Augustine, and you can bring that there to them. Specifically, if we're talking like weddings, like a day wedding or even a night wedding. People have different things that they want to serve, stuff that it pairs well with, like cake and such like that. It could be a great offering for people. I know that there's a mobile cigar bar that we are both familiar with, and just having two mobile, I don't know what you'd say. Like one is a food and the other is like a passion, so to speak. But having them descend to an event, you're going to be able to kind of hit different interests that people might have there.
And that was something too that I thought with the coffee and doing weddings and private events like that, people seem to be looking for alternatives to alcohol at their events. So I thought that would, that's a great offering. And also, not only do I have the coffee truck, but the bar inside the truck that the espresso machine sits on is actually portable. So I can roll it out of the truck and roll it into a building and kind of cater inside. If that's an aesthetic that people are looking for.
Now, that's something I didn't think about, is the fact that potentially people would want to have a non-alcoholic wedding. I was thinking along the lines of, okay, people were intoxicated. Now we got to sober them up, hit them with a couple of shots of espresso.
So it's funny that you say that. We have a friend that has owns a pizza place in Daytona. And we're thinking, when they all come stumbling out of the bars at 2:00, I'll be sitting there and be like, hey, you need to sober up before you drive home.
Yeah, that is possible. So coffee and alcohol goes together. You always see it in like the movies, somebody's hungover or something, or they're still coming down, so to speak, or coming up, however you want to say it, and hit them with some coffee. Before we go too far though, your bar is cat themed. Tell us more about kind of the influence of cats and what you do as far as cats go, as you know, with your proceeds and all that stuff.
So I've had a love for cats ever since I was little. There's a picture, I think when I did my presentation at our networking group, there's a picture of me in a stroller, probably 1.5 years old, reaching for, somebody's cat that was there on the floor. But I've always had a thing for cats.
That's cool.
Logo is cat themed, but also all my drink names are cat themed. So
oh, really?
They are, yes. So I have a cappuccino, and I have a Choco Gato, which is like a mocha latte. But the coffee drinks and the plant-based energy drinks that I serve are all cat named. But I partner with a different rescue or, like the Humane Society every couple months to collect donations for them, food supplies, any kind of animal supplies that they need. And I give the customer 20% off when they donate those items. So the items go to the rescue, and then the person who purchased, a drink gets 20% off.
And that's for like if somebody brings in cat food or something like that wants to donate it to go to one of the organizations that you were supporting at the time.
Right. Yeah. So right now we're supporting Community Cats of Palm Coast, and they have a list. It's on my Facebook page, but also at my coffee truck, a list of supplies they need. There's a couple of different IMs, dry foods that they use. They use Fancy Feast. They could always use the puppy pee pads. So there's that list there for people to donate something from that list.
I love entrepreneurship, especially in Flagler, because there's a lot of houses, you might say. They're building a lot of houses, and that's one of the things that's coming up as far as this mayoral race that's going to be happening, or it's happening now, but the actual election itself. And so it's really great to see people like you starting something new here in Palm Coast, and just the community getting behind you and supporting it, especially with donating to charity. I love that. And it seems like the best companies always have something that's close to their heart, some charity that they're supporting. How do you pick your different charities that you support?
Obviously, anything that helps rescue cats.
Sure.
And that was something that I noticed when I moved here. A number of like little stray kitties just on our street, and
That's
the neighbors all get together and feed, we call it the food line. They're all lined up outside the neighbor's garage waiting for their food.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're kind of really well trained.
Uh-huh.
But, you would see these, the cats would get older. All of a sudden, you wouldn't see the cats anymore. They look real beat up. And then all of a sudden, there's all these kittens everywhere. So it's, I think it's really important for the cats to be safe, but also the residents to not feel like they're alone and having to take care of these animals. That's why, places like Community Cats Palm Coast that will step in and help these animals and nurture them until they're ready for adoption. It's a great organization.
There's actually a cat feeding station right around the corner here. That's part of this kind of complex.
Yeah.
This will make me sound weird. I love stray cats. Here's why. Stray cats' love is a lot different than a domesticated cat. You have to work for it. They're scared. They're not going to just necessarily come up to you. Now, I guess if you fed them for a decent amount of time, yes. But just a stray cat that you've never had any interaction with, it's cool when they actually come up to you and they start to trust you. That's cool. Have you had that experience?
I have, yeah. And you're right. It does take a lot of work, and there's community cats, but there's also other organizations that have what they call colony feeders. So instead of taking the animals that have lived in the wild for so long, they're probably feral or semi-feral. They're not going to willingly come to a person, but you still want to make sure the cat is safe and fed. So they'll have the colony feeders come out and feed them, and after time, the cats start to trust you a little bit more. They know that you're not there to hurt them, but to feed them and just make sure that they're well taken care of from a distance.
So yeah, I love cats, and I love that your stuff is obviously cat themed. But before we go talking too much about just the cats, tell us more about what you have as far as your offerings go, because we touched on a couple of the drinks, but go ahead and give a rundown of what you offer, the areas that you service as well.
Yeah. So my coffee drinks are all espresso based. I occasionally I'll bring out like like your regular, brew coffee that you would do at home if it's a bigger event and people might, request something like that. But most everything is espresso based. So like lattes or cappuccinos, the mocha latte, pretty much anything. I can make a macchiato, things that aren't necessarily on the menu, but if it's got espresso in it, I can make it. And then I also have plant-based energy drinks. So unlike some of your mass-produced, like your Red Bulls or your Monster Energy that have some of the chemicals in it, these energy drinks use B vitamins, rhodiola, lotus flower, green tea extract. That's where you get the energy from. And it's more of a sustained energy where you're not getting that crash, that energy crash after you drink it. And the energy drinks are customizable. So I have a few options. I have one called Sourpuss that has sour candy syrup in it. Yeah. I've got a key lime kitty. So that's key lime with that cheesecake syrup. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but it tastes like key lime pie. It's really good. But I have lots of different syrup choices, so you can kind of mix and match what you want, and they all have that energy base in them. You just kind of customize it. And then I can also do Italian soda, so that's like the energy drink minus the energy.
Let's kind of go into the direction of who you're looking to connect with as far as business goes, but also different events that maybe they didn't think about coffee. Can you kind of go over some of those specific things, like who you want to connect with and different events that would benefit from having coffee?
Yeah, so I would love to talk to small business owners. If you're having like a grand opening, or even if you do some kind of monthly, sale at your location, people would love to grab a cup of coffee and go walk through the store or get coffee as they're leaving, especially if it's a morning time event. Event planners are also a really great resource for me. If you have event space in Flagler County, or even outside of Flagler County, where you have vendors come in to vend for weddings or big anniversary parties, anything like that. As far as events, I know, kind of looking forward to the holiday season. I know there's a lot of holiday markets going on. There's some rescue organizations are putting on some, the city's putting on some events as well. So any of those kind of bigger community events are always great for me too.
One thing that is important when people are thinking coffee and mobile coffee bar, essentially, is that's going to draw a crowd too, especially as your following grows. People are going to be looking out for where you are. And so people out there at different businesses, you want to have Toe Beans Coffee come out to your event because say you have some type of sale going on. Well, they might not see the sign, but if they see the coffee sign or the sign on the truck or the mobile trailer, that sort of thing, maybe they'll stop for that. And there's a sale going on here too. So kind of works in tandem together.
Yes.
So tell people how they can contact you, reach out to you, get in contact to get you out to their event, their shop, their space.
On social media, I'm at Toe Beans Coffee Bar on Facebook and Instagram. And then I have a beautiful new website. It's toebeanscoffeebar.com. On there, you can see the calendar of events. That's always up to date. So if you're ever wondering where I am, you can find it there. Also there's some photos of past events, the menus on the website as well. So that's a really good resource.
Hey, I just want to thank you for coming into the studio today. I actually asked you yesterday, and it was spur of the moment. You're like, yes, I can do this. And what I like to do is I really just like to have conversations, nothing scripted on the Be Nice Individuals podcast. It's just talking. And I feel like when you can just talk, you're going to talk about what's the inner passion of your heart. And when you're just going kind of through a script, some of that can get lost. And so I appreciate you going with the format. A lot of people like it. I don't know. We'll talk about that off camera. We'll see. We'll see if it worked out for you. But again, guys, check out Vanessa Douglas with Toe Beans Coffee Bar. Get her out to your event. Get her out to whatever type of sale you have going on. Again, she has a following. It's going to draw that crowd. People are going to stop. They're going to see, oh man, I need coffee. So why not pull over here, get coffee? Oh, and you have a sale going on? Great. So get her out there. Weddings that maybe you don't want to serve alcohol. Great alternative. Toe Beans Coffee Bar. Or if you are serving alcohol, maybe people need to sober up a little bit. Hit them with a couple shots of espresso. Toe Beans Coffee Bar would love to help you guys with that. Again, this is Thaddeus with the Be Nice Individuals podcast. I'm at the Flagler Voice Studio, which is a podcast space that is open for rent. You guys want to come in here, broadcast your business, your ideas, your products. We'd love to have you. And we'll see you next time.